Okay, up next, the essential musicals of my very special guest, Enya.
This isn't just the sound of music. It's Rodgers and Hammerstein's The Sound of Music. This isn't just Sunday. It's Elaine Paige on Sunday.
Enya, it's so lovely to meet you at last. I've been a great admirer of yours for many years, and I just want to thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for asking me here.
Well, we'll come to your essential musicals and your new album in a moment, but as you know, on this programme, we love musicals and movies. So I'd like to chat to you about a few of those as well, but I wanted to begin by asking you about your music, you know, in general. How would you describe your music?
There's a particular sound now that is recognised as known as the Enya sound. It's the way I use my voice. I will sing lead vocal, but I work with the producer Nicky Ryan, and we put together what we like to call like a wall of sound of vocals, because I use my voice also as an instrument to harmonise, to layer the voice, and to sing various parts. So in that regard, it's very difficult to say, because I sing in Gaelic, my first language, and I sing in Latin, and I sing in so many different languages. I write instrumentals, so it's very difficult to actually sort of categorise the music as such.
But you just mentioned your producer and arranger, Nicky Ryan, and your lyricist, of course, Roma Ryan. How did you all meet up? I mean, how did you actually come to be working together?
I had met them through my family. I was touring with Clannad at the time, and Nicky was doing the live sound and producing their albums, and we started to talk musically, and they kind of encouraged me to write what I felt. And because it was instrumental, first of all, Roma thought the music was very visual. She described it as very visual, and she thought it would be interesting to work with soundtrack. So,
what was the first thing that you ever worked together on?
It was with David Putnam. And at the time, David Putnam was working with a lot of unknown artists, with actors and with musicians. And we worked with him on a film called The Frog Prince. So that was the first encounter to scoring for film.
Was it fun? Did you enjoy creating a score?
It was very exciting. It was very exciting.
Was it a bit nerve-wracking, though? Because you presumably had never done this before.
No. But what was wonderful is I had two people with me who believed in the music, and that is something that was so, again, encouraging for me, and therefore I didn't feel it was a great step. It just felt it was the right, next step for me to progress in my writing.
Well, not long after The Frog Prince, your writing and music was featured in the hit Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman film Far and Away. Malk, let's hear Book of Days.
East or west, over
Wonderful. I love it. I just love that sound you make. Book of Days from the 1992 film Far and Away, and that was performed by Enya, who is with me now. Enya, of course, you really came into prominence once you'd composed the soundtrack to the BBC TV series The Celts. Tell me about that.
This was very interesting because the director firstly was looking for 6 composers because there were 6 different episodes, and he wanted to kind of bring the sort of Celtic music from what we know as the past music and then bring it right into sort of a modern version of what Celtic music should sound like in the future. And the first piece that I put together with Nicky and Roma was the March of the Celts. And when himself, the director and the producer, Tony McCauley, heard this, it was David Richardson was the director, they asked me to write for the 6 episodes. So that was a huge compliment. A lot of music to write. But it was very, very diverse, the music, you know. But it was so interesting to sort of, I suppose, have the freedom to kind of explore all avenues of music.
How did the Celts change things for you? I mean, how important was that series for you?
It was very important in regard to being approached then by Warner UK, and it was the MD, Rob Dickens, who approached us, and he wanted to sign me for a solo album. We were very excited, again another step to take the music sort of forward, but it was important that there was no interference musically from the record company, And also that I had as long as I needed to put an album together. So if it would take 2 to 3 years, they had to wait. So this was quite unique.
Absolutely, I should, Coco, darling. Wow. Well, Rob Dickens was pretty important in my career as well, because he was the MD at Warner's when he helped me sort of with my recording career, but he never gave me 3 and 4, 7 or whatever years. And obviously Rob's faith in you really paid off, because you've now sold over 70 million records. I mean, it's just amazing. And you've just released your 7th album, right?
Yes,
it's called And Winter Came. Tell me all about that.
I've always wanted to work on a Christmas album, and I must admit that for the first 6 months it was fine. I'd recorded Silent Night, which I sung in Gaelic, Ichi Huing, and then O Come, O Come Emmanuel, which is a beautiful Advent choral. And after that I was drawn more to writing original Christmas songs and carols. But then sort of the theme of winter began to evolve within the songs, and on conversing with Nicky and Rum about this, I felt, how do you feel about this? The instrumental And Winter Came, I said, this is not a Christmas feel, but it's very sort of strong influence from winter. So we kind of decided within winter is the celebration of Christmas, so let's try and infuse the 2 themes together for this album, and it's really sort of half of winter themes and half of Christmas themes.
I can't wait to hear this. Now, I think we should play something immediately from Enya's new album. Lovely. From her new album, which I can wholeheartedly recommend. It's called And Winter Came. That was Enya. And White is in the Winter Night. Enya, could you tell me about, how you compose your music?
We have our own studio. And when I walk in, especially when I'm writing music, this is kind of the solitude moment because I'm on my own. And I really do not have any distractions. It's a beautiful studio with a very big window overlooking a beautiful garden. But I really only, I leave the success, I leave everything, outside the door, and I just kind of come in and just concentrate on music. And then when I leave the studio, I leave the music in the studio. When I go home, I never bring my work home with me. Because
What a clever
I think,
girl you are.
I think, with the first two albums, it was different. I spent a lot of time in the studio, and the pace, I really didn't feel I could carry on with the pace of just constantly being in a studio writing and performing. So I felt my inspirations really come from life as well. So there is a very strong cut-off point where I have to, even when I do my writing, it's 5 day a week. I have the weekends off and I take holidays, and it's strange how you discover something. I'm sure you find the same thing. When people ask a question, you realize something new about yourself. And I do all my compositions, my writing, only in wintertime. So that I didn't realize.
And you never did discover that until now?
No, because what would happen is I would write 2 or 3 songs, and then in spring, summer, between sort of taking breaks, I would be arranging and working with Roman the lyrics. And then when it comes sort of to the next, sort of winter, autumn, fall, I would then go in to write the next 3 or 4 songs, and then go back by February and I didn't realize I had this
quite
little
interesting.
pattern.
It's like
So
sort
I've
of
learned
hibernating
something.
in the
I've
winter.
learned something. I enjoy winter because I love it's very reflective.
Considering how much success that you've enjoyed over the past 25 years, it must be said that you've managed to keep your private life, just that, haven't you? Private. Has that been hard for you to do that, or is it you just like to shun publicity, or what's that all about?
It's a case of, with the release of Watermark, the music actually sold by itself. Firstly, people heard Orinoco Flow, and then they bought the album, but they weren't sure if I was, a band, Enya was a band, or if it was a female singer, or they weren't quite sure who I was as a person. And it is still the case where I find, success and fame are two different things, and the focus on the success in the music is something I enjoy. Because I'm very passionate about music. I loved music at a very young age, and I never felt that I had to sell my music as such.
Now, once your music appeared in the movies, though, I mean, the spotlight really was on you, wasn't it? And I can remember watching Gérard Depardieu in the film Green Card, which of course featured quite a few of your songs from your album Watermark, as you just mentioned. That must have been a really big break, internationally speaking, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, because I've worked with wonderful directors, Peter Weir, worked with Martin Scorsese, and more recent, Peter Jackson. And I have to say that, again, because the music has been described as quite visual, and if it's a really good director, I know that they're going to capture something wonderful visually, and so it's really worked really well.
And that film included one of my favourites, Storms in Africa. Let's hear it, Malk. Enya and Storms in Africa from the film Green Card, and Enya is with me today. So I suppose on film, for the director, as you said earlier, he briefs you as to what he's looking for. When you see the film then, and you hear your music with the visual thing, do you get the same thing back? I mean, do you think, oh yes, that's exactly kind of what was in my head?
Well, with the Celts, there was a case of not having seen any footage, but he would brief me on what it was about. So that was interesting. But on working with Peter Jackson, it was a case of being flown to New Zealand.
This is Lord of the Rings.
Yes, this is Lord of the Rings. Because they were very protective about not sending any footage to anyone, because I could understand that, because we're like that on our music. We don't play anything until it's final. So it was a rough cut. And myself, Nick and Roma sat in this massive big cinema to view it. And there was one scene where Arwen and Argan are together, this romantic moment. The inspiration was so beautiful that I class myself as quite a slow composer, but on the week of having seen the film, I had written that piece because visually it was very inspiring to me. So it worked. It's a different way of working, but I enjoy it.
How did you come to become involved in the project in the first place?
I was approached by Peter Jackson, and I had read the book. There was a lot of people who were interested in scoring for this film, but it was very interesting to be approached and, to be asked, are you interested? And of course it was, yes, please. Because I'd seen some of his previous work, and visually I knew it was going to be very, very exciting.
And May It Be was nominated, wasn't it, for an Oscar?
Yes, it was.
What was that like, to perform that song at the Academy Awards?
It was absolutely breathtaking, that moment. It was so exciting. It doesn't get any better than that.
Were you nervous?
Yes, because
you don't sing live that often, do you?
No, I wouldn't. But when I do promotional trips, I would sing the songs. But it's only like 1 or 2 songs I get the opportunity to perform. And what happened to me was I actually had to see the conductor, because my cue came from the conductor. He would actually play the first chord, and then I'd have to start on my own. And I couldn't see him from the orchestra pit. I'm sure you know about this. So I had to stand on a little box. And I kept thinking, please make sure he's standing on the box. This is live. So the next thing, I saw him appear, I saw the baton, and I got my cue.
And off you went.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And you enjoyed that experience, did you?
It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, I'd like to hear, if you don't mind, May It Be from the Fellowship of the Rings. May It Be from the Fellowship of the Rings. Enya, would you like to have a cup of tea, and then we'll run through your essential musicals after tea?
That would be wonderful. Yes,
Great.
I'd enjoy that.
The overture to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, kicking off part 2 of Elaine Paige on Sunday. Enya is my special guest this afternoon. Enya, what's your first choice going to be today?
My first essential musical is from Jesus Christ Superstar. It was such an original piece of music in 1970, and it was a record that was played in my house every single day, and myself and my sisters would sing word for word. It was great melodies, great performance, and we still love taking it out and revisiting 1970.
It hasn't dated really, do you think?
No, the songs are so great, absolutely great. Very, very strong melodies there.
And wonderful arrangements, don't you think, too?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it was a success on stage, but the film version of Superstar, it was pretty much panned by the critics. Why do you think that was?
It's probably to do with the success of the concept album, because I think people had probably set their own visuals to it, and had known it so well that it's very difficult then to come along later on to put new visuals to it.
What shall we hear then from Jesus Christ Superstar?
Superstar.
Okay, I love it too. One of my favourite shows. Let's hear it, Mel.
About your friends at the top. Who'd you think besides yourselves to pick out the crowd? Who was he, where exactly is he where you are? Could Muhammad move from mountain or was that just beyond? Did you mean to die like that? Was that a mistake? Or did you know your message would be a record breaker? Don't you get me wrong. 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 Don't you get me wrong.
Oh, I love it, I love it. Rocking on there. 1970, that was. Concept album. That was the wonderful Murray Head, of course. And that was the choice of Enya, who is with me today. Enya, what's next?
My second essential musical is The King and I.
Ah, now, this is a great Rodgers and Hammerstein show, and one that I know pretty well. Why have you chosen this musical?
The story with this for me is my first time on leaving the family. I went to boarding school, and I come from a big family. I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters.
Wow.
And the reason I went to boarding school is I had the opportunity to study music as a subject. and they were doing the actual performance of The King and I remember in particular the song Whenever I Feel Afraid. I just remember that that's how I felt going into boarding school. It kind of captured my feeling as leaving the family behind. And being very excited, though, because I was so excited to be involved musically in the show. And I thought it just captured that moment for me.
Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm afraid. While shivering in my shoes, I strike a careless pose and whistle a happy tune, and no one ever knows I'm afraid. The result of this deception is very strange to tell, for when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. I whistle a happy tune, and every single time the happiness in the tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Make believe you're brave and the trick will take you far. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm afraid. While shivering in my shoes, I strike a careless pose and whistle a happy tune, and no one ever knows I'm afraid. The result of this deception is very strange to tell, for when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. I whistle a happy tune, and every single time the happiness in the tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Make believe you're brave and the trick will take you far. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. You may be as brave as you make believe you are.
No prizes for knowing that was Marnie Nixon and I Whistle a Happy Tune from The King and I. Great choice, Enya. What's next?
My next essential musical choice is The Sound of Music.
You're a bit of a Rodgers and Hammerstein fan, I think.
Yes, I am.
When did you first discover this one?
This is to do with, I was a little bit younger, and it was a case of, my father actually was in a show band, and he played, he used to tour when I was growing up, and in fact my mother joined him for a while, so I had my parents touring when I was growing up.
And what did he play?
He played, it was Glenn Miller swing
my father
music.
used to love that.
Played
music.
the saxophone, and he was the lead singer, and a lot of the members in the band were his family as well. So,
and your mum?
Yes, she played the piano.
Okay. So it's in your genes, isn't it?
So I do remember having my dad at home was a rare occasion, and we went to a matinee to see The Sound of Music. And at that stage, the family, we were very involved musically. My first time being on stage was at 3.5 years of age. And then we were entered, we used to enter as a family in musical competitions, singing competitions. So I was introduced to like harmonies at a very young age. So when I saw The Sound of Music, I thought it was about our family.
I was going to say,
it was so fantastic to see this family who, again, the harmonies were so beautiful, the singing, the songs, it was so fantastic. I remember leaving the cinema and couldn't actually speak for a while because it was so wonderful to see. I just thought, there's another family who sing like we do.
It's Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What shall we hear then from The Sound of Music?
It's my favourite thing.
Oh, well. Whose version do you want to hear? Julie Andrews, Petula Clark, as Connie Fisher, of course, or Mary Martin? Who do you think you want to hear?
It's going to be Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews.
The wonderful Julie Andrews.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favourite things. Cream-coloured ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favourite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favourite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favourite things, and then I don't feel so bad. On roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favourite things. Cream-coloured ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favourite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favourite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favourite things, and then I don't feel so
Enya, I'm really enjoying your choices today. What's your last essential musical going to be, though?
South Pacific.
This is another R&H piece.
I know.
Why have you chosen 3 of their works?
I just think the collaboration was very, very strong and very unique. And they were together for 20 years. One wrote the music, the other wrote the lyrics, and in a way I can understand that with the way I work. And it's lovely to have someone who has an understanding to music, and evidently Rodgers and Hammerstein had this understanding. The wonderful work that they did.
It just clicked, didn't it?
Absolutely,
I guess sometimes there is no rhyme or reason to that. It just, like yourself,
perfect.
It's just the perfect combination.
And the one that fascinated me, the one I've chosen, is I Want to Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair, because I can't believe that she actually washed her hair. And I heard the story that for anyone who performs that song, they have to wash their hair. This Mary Martin, isn't it? And there's a story for my mom as well, because I was talking to mom one time about this. She was talking about she loves all the musicals as well, and she said that at one time my mom was at boarding school as well, and she was at finishing school, and she was in this parlour and she was serving ice cream. That was one of the parts of sort of, finishing school. And it was in Donegal town. And who walked in but Mary Martin with her son?
Wow.
Who would be Larry Hagman.
That's right, of course.
And my mom served Larry Hagman ice cream. So I thought, wow.
I think we should play this for your mum as well. I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair.
I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair. I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair. I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair and send him on his way. I'm gonna wave that man right out of my arms. I'm gonna wave that man right out of my arms. I'm gonna wave that man right out of my arms and send him on his way. If a man don't understand you, if you fly on separate beams, waste no time, make a change, ride that man right off your range, rub him out of the roll call and drum him out of your dreams. Oh, if you laugh at different comics, if you root for different teams, waste no time, weep no more, show him what the door is for, rub him out of the roll call and drum him out of your dreams. You can't light a fire when the wood's all wet. No. You can't make a butterfly strong. You can't fix an egg when it ain't quite good. And you can't fix a man when he's wrong. You can't put back a petal when it falls from a flower, or sweeten up a feller when he starts turning sour. Oh no! Oh no! If his eyes get dull and fishy when you look for winds and leaves, waste no time, make a switch, drop him in the nearest ditch, drop him out of the roll call and drum him out of your dreams. Oh, 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 oh. I went and washed that man right out of my hair. I went and washed that man right out of my hair. I went and washed that man right out of my hair and set him on his way. She went and washed that man right out of her hair. She went and washed that man right out of her hair. She went and washed that man right out of her hair and set him on his way.
Enya, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thanks for your essential musicals, for talking to me about your life and your work, and I just want to wish you much luck with your new album.
Thank you.
Called And Winter Came.
Thank you very much.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
88 to 91.
Radio 2.